Whenever I start to think about how much time I've wasted watching videos on the internet, I start to panic. And then I pick up my phone and distract myself by continuing to watch videos on the internet. I can feel my brain getting dumber. I can feel my life passing me by, and yet I'm stuck in an endless scroll like a gambling addict rolling slots waiting for the next dopamine hit. Get off the internet and go make something of yourself. Delaying gratification? In this digital economy, where I can Google Ultra HD 4K videos of hot moms, where I can develop parasocial relationships with VTubers, are you kidding? I mean, there's just endless amounts of worldly pleasures available to me for little to no effort. Men used to have to work their entire lifetime to see some boobies. Now I can just Google it. People used to have to learn hobbies to entertain themselves, but now they can just go on YouTube and watch somebody else do their hobbies. Internet addiction is a very common experience for a vast majority of my generation. We grew up on the internet, which offered more stimulation than anything in real life ever could. What can I say? Sunsets are way prettier when the saturation is boosted to 200. The beach looks way better when you color correct the water to be ultra aquamarine blue. Everything online is in perfect contrast, bright colors, and fast edits that leave you no time to wonder, maybe I should get off my phone. These mysterious screens are infinitely more rewarding and engaging than anything in real life. If I'm balls deep in Bleak Falls Barrow and 3 baddies pull up ready to bang, I'ma just have to be like, nah bro, I'm busy. I feel like I could be at the coolest amusement park on the planet, and if my favorite YouTuber uploaded, I would be more interested in their video. In fact, I have experienced this exact situation firsthand. When I was like 10 or 11, my family took a trip to Disney World, and I remember absolutely nothing about the attractions. But I do remember being completely miserable the entire time because I wanted to go back to the hotel and watch Captain Sparkles build Jerry's treehouse in Minecraft. This is unfortunately a true story. These video games and the internet that I used to watch other people play these games on, it was my entire life. It's all that I thought about, it's all that I did. When I was at school, I would try to come up with my own Minecraft parodies in class. I would make actual to-do lists for what I was gonna do in Minecraft that day when I got home. These games and YouTube videos were my escape from reality. They were seemingly my only source of happiness. I had zero interest in doing anything else. I was, and still am, dopaminergically I'm tired of having a preference for a relationship in which the other person is completely oblivious to my existence. And when I try to detach myself from the internet, when I do try to go outside and touch grass, I find that there's nobody else outside trying to touch grass with me. It's not like there's just a bunch of people outside frolicking the fields waiting for me to go talk to them. When I go out, everyone is in their 40s with kids. Now listen, there's a case to be made for befriending these hot moms, but that's a subject for another video. My generation has some unique issues. The population pyramid that's supposed to look like an actual pyramid is starting to invert. This means that there are less young people. And actually, when I look back on my life and I see when I became chronically online, it was the same time that we moved out of our old neighborhood and into one where there were no other kids around. I went from living directly next door to kids my age to being surrounded by a bunch of retired fossils. All of the friendships I developed due to the close proximity I had with them all fell apart when I moved away, and there were no other kids around for me to be able to establish new connections. Imagine every day you get off the bus and come home to a completely empty house. Mom's at work, dad disappeared 10 years ago, nobody's home, there's nobody to talk to. Of course, I went to the internet and pulled up YouTube. What else was supposed to fill the silence? And inevitably, these YouTubers in some strange, sad way became my best friends, despite the fact that they didn't even know I existed. I even sent fan mail to some of these people. I would send them drawings of their game characters and long letters about how much I loved their videos. Now you may be thinking, okay, so maybe socialization wasn't really an option for you when you were a kid due to your environment. That sucks, but that's something you should be able to grow out of when you get older and get a car. That way you have more access to people in real life. But here's the thing. Growing up online caused me to develop a preference for parasocial relationships. The people I found online, they liked the same things as me, and I related to them. I never had to learn how to have a reciprocal relationship with someone. I got all the benefits of having a friendship without any of the investment. I saw a trend on YouTube not long ago of commentaries about why Gen Z are not good friends. And they bring up some good points in these videos, but I feel like something that people leave out is the existence of these parasocial relationships and just access to entertainment in general. If people didn't have access to their favorite content creators or this online entertainment, then they would essentially have to go out and make friends. Because if someone feels lonely without access to the internet, they seek friendship. But if someone feels lonely with access to the internet, they pull up YouTube. The crazy truth is, people don't need friendships anymore to fulfill their social needs. They can get it online. And that's a problem because parasocial relationships are objectively way more convenient than establishing an actual friendship. Parasocial relationships are just fast food for loneliness. One of the major consequences of growing up online is the limitation it places on your ability to find and nurture your natural interests. When you have something as infinitely stimulating as the internet available to you, any inclination towards an interest outside of it will be quickly overridden. As a kid, you may have had affinities towards certain activities. Maybe you wanted to learn how to play piano. What are you, gay? Or maybe you wanted to learn how to paint. Your parents may have even bought you some painting materials for Christmas, but unfortunately they also bought you a phone. And that phone happened to be a million times better. Nurturing interests can be hard work. There's a steep learning curve to things like playing an instrument or painting. Learning these things can be very frustrating and challenging, especially in the beginning. But you also develop very valuable and important skills from this. It teaches you lessons on perseverance and persistence. And just like riding a bike, skills that are nurtured in childhood tend to stick with you throughout adulthood. But when you're a kid, you don't know any of that. You just know that screen equals fun and painting equals hard. So when you get bored, you go to the easy activity instead of the hard one. Of course, kids are going to take the path of least resistance. They're little pleasure-seeking creatures. They don't know any better. If this highly stimulating outlet was not available to them, however, the boredom likely would have led them to spend their time actually nurturing their interests or being social. I remember when I was a very young kid, before I found out that screens were a portal to the alternate universe, I was actually very creative. I would spend most of my day building with Legos, drawing, dancing, and spending time with friends. And then one of them introduced me to Minecraft. And it was over before it began. What do you mean there's a world of infinite Legos? I'm never leaving. When you ask people these days, what do you like to do? More often than not, they're going to respond with a consumption activity. Oh, I like watching Netflix, listening to music, watching sports. Yeah, here's the thing, that's not really a hobby. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting idly while your brain is being passively distracted. These are not activities, they are time fillers. A lot of people these days don't have actual hobbies or interests outside of a screen. They might socialize over the weekend, but even that normally just involves sipping a beer and watching a football game. It's socializing over a screen. And look, I'm not advocating for everyone to try to become the next Van Gogh. I'm not saying you have to pick up some creative hobby that you take super seriously. But like, maybe it would be worth exploring your interests and pursuing them. Try to do something that is actively engaging for your brain and isn't constantly bombarding your reward circuit with dopamine. I want to give you a 3-step process with a very low barrier to entry that really helped me distance myself from screen time. Step 1 is to go to a library or a bookstore and find a book that interests you. This sounds simple enough, but there are some rules for this. Don't go on Amazon and read the reviews. Don't watch a YouTube video about it. Don't go to the internet to help your decision making at all. Just spend an hour at a bookstore, skimming through the titles, reading the backs of books, and pick one that you genuinely find interesting. This is an exploration of your own individual interests without the influence of anybody else's. The second step of this is to delete all of the social media apps off of your phone. YouTube, X, TikTok, Reddit, all of them have to go. That way, if you do instinctively pick up your phone, which you will, the apps aren't sitting there waiting for you to click on them. And when you notice that they're gone, it'll snap you back into the mindset of, oh yeah, I'm trying to avoid these. And step 3 is for the rest of the week, you leave this book directly by your phone. And anytime you get the urge to pick up your phone and re-download these apps, you pick up the book instead. Books, especially fiction, are still forms of distraction and entertainment. They're still time fillers, but they're not damaging like screen time is. Reading actively engages your brain and it reestablishes the attention span you lost after years of doom scrolling. After a couple days, you may find that reading can actually be quite meditative, and your reading sessions won't leave you feeling drained like your doom scrolling sessions usually do. And if you get bored of reading or you don't have the energy to focus on it, just sit there and do nothing. As counterintuitive as it sounds, sitting down and doing nothing is actually more productive than doom scrolling and overloading your brain. People rarely have moments of silence to just sit with themselves and think, and that's not a good thing. Something that I also found while doing this was the natural inclination towards completing tasks that I had at one point procrastinated. After an hour or so of reading, I would start to get bored, and just instinctively I would get up and start cleaning my room, or go to the gym, or call up a friend. Things that once felt really hard and unnatural when my phone was distracting me became much easier. I wasn't being met with resistance in the same way that I would have when I was compulsively using my phone. A point that I really want to emphasize with this video is that your brain is not broken. Your brain is designed to seek the most amount of reward with the least amount of effort. This isn't a flaw, this is just a part of your natural design. And it's things like the internet, TV shows, video games that are exploiting this design. After enough time, normal activities start to feel really challenging because they are higher investment and lower reward. You're not broken. Your brain's just like, what the heliante? I want to play Dark Souls, and you're making me do homework. The only way to rebalance this investment to reward ratio is to withdraw from those low investment, high reward activities. Doing your work, going to the gym, making and maintaining friendships, these things are all high investment and low reward. You're expending a lot of energy up front for not a lot of immediate gain, but you build up interest by doing this. The results come after months or years of compounding, but you can never get to that point if you don't first withdraw from the immediately rewarding stimulus. You can't watch AI slap for an hour and then expect to do meaningful work. You can't spend 6 hours on YouTube and then expect to want to socialize. Your brain is fried. You are tranquilized off of cheap dopamine. My childhood in many ways was stolen from me. Stolen by screen time that I never knew could have such negative consequences. I can't help but feel like Zoomers are the guinea pigs of a social experiment gone terribly wrong. But just because your childhood has been stolen, don't let it steal the rest of your life.